cause we stand as one. Safe access for everyone. Oh, we rise up, lifted higher. Medicine fueled by love and fire. Together we blaze, together we laugh. Patients for safe access, that's the path.
The following production has been brought to you by the Hippie Broadcasting Network, WTHC Radio, and Stoner Records. Now, here's your host, Summer Parker.
What's up, people? Welcome back to your weekly Patients for Safe Access podcast. This week, I did not have a guest lined up, so you've just got me today, but me has a lot of shit to talk about. So if you are familiar, if you are from the Oklahoma area and you've been in the cannabis industry for any length of time whatsoever, this sign over here should be recognizable. And we went through a period of time in the cannabis industry where we were screaming from the rooftops to impeach Berry and stop the bull stit, okay? And for those of you that are not from Oklahoma, I just want to explain this sign here. So impeach Berry is to impeach Director Berry of the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority. When I first saw this sign a couple of years ago, I thought, man, that's pretty harsh, you know? And I really tried hard to have a good working relationship with the regulatory body here in Oklahoma. But as time has went on, I have realized that maybe this sign was printed for a reason. So I'm not going to say anything else on that part, but stop the bull stit. So our governor is Governor Kevin Stitt, and we around Oklahoma call him Governor Shit. Well, my mom does at least. And, you know, our governor and our regulatory body here in our state have not listened to us. They have not listened to us as patients. They have not listened to us as consumers. And I don't mean they haven't listened to everything we've said, because there's some things that they've taken and they've listened to, but not the ones I feel like were the most important. How about y'all? So let's see here. This week, we are going to be talking about a couple of different things. I've got about 4 or 5 pages worth of notes here. We have got, hey, Anthony, welcome in. We have got products that we just received some new testing on. I want to say it was Christmas Eve when I received the COAs. I have not had an opportunity to get them posted quite yet, but we're going to be talking about products that we received new testing on, as well as products that we've also submitted in for testing again. So that's going to be part of it. We also are going to bring up some stuff about some events, the naughty and nice of the events. We're going to be talking about a recent recall here in Oklahoma that was done for Carter County extracts. And that one was an interesting one. We'll get to the details on it, but I had an experience myself with one of their products, but it was not one of the products on the recall. So I'll share that with you guys in a little bit as well. So we're also going to be talking about DUI laws here in Oklahoma. Really just going to touch on one little subject there, and it has to do with tamper-proof seals on like pre-roll tubes and that type of a thing. So I'm just giving you guys a rundown. Hopefully you'll stick with me throughout the show today, and we'll cover all these great and wonderful things. We're also going to talk about some legislation that Patients for Safe Access is working towards with some legislators in the Oklahoma State Capitol. We are in the second year of the current legislative session, and it is still time to make some changes. And so we're working towards making some of those changes. We'll talk about those with you guys. And then the biggest one for me is probably the Graves Farms Organics hearing. This one was crazy. Gonna take a little bit. Definitely going to be in the second half that we talk about that. So, Brendan, good to be here. Glad you are here. Glad you are here. So, we'll start out first. Hippie, you've got the first set of pictures, which has just a few of them. So these are some products that are currently out that have been tested that, like I said, I received the COAs on those Christmas Eve. And I'm going back and forth between my phone and this so that I can read those because my printer took a shit on me and I don't know how to fix a resetter. So if anybody else wants to talk me through how to fix a resetter, I did the waste tank, but now I can't figure out the rest of it. So 1 second here and I'll get these COAs pulled up on my phone. Some of the products that were tested, what he has pulled up there is by Gladiator Cannabis. And that is a dispensary here in Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma. And this product was sold as a shake ounce product. And this particular strain is called Boomer Sooner. And they are in Norman, Oklahoma. If you're familiar with that, that's our college town for OU Sooners. So the Boomer Sooner shake originally on their testing, on their packaging, says that it's a 21% THC with a 2.39 terpene. And on the results we received, it was a 10.63 THC and a 0.05% terpene. That is half. Now, honestly, I expect shake to test at 10%. If you're telling me that your shake is testing at 21%, when some people's bud isn't even testing at 20%, I really highly doubt that your shake is testing at 22% damn near, okay? So the biggest problem I have with this is just be honest about your results. Be honest about what your product is. Don't fudge it to the customers, because if I as a customer wanted to get really pissed about this, I could come in and say that you sold me 22% THC, but then when I tested it, it was only 10 point something percent THC. And in turn, you only gave me 50% of the product of which I paid for. And I recently wrote an article in Herbage about this exact subject, okay? And even though this hasn't become a thing in the cannabis industry yet, I can foresee it coming in the future where companies are going to have to deal with product liability and label fraud. And so understand you might get to pass this off right now, not just Gladiator Cannabis on this product, but any company, okay? You might get to pass this off for now, but you're not always going to get to pass that off. So the other product that we tested of theirs was the one called Gumbo. And I think it's 2 pictures over. Yeah. And so that one second, I accidentally logged out of my Confident Cannabis account there. Good stuff when you're working it from your phone. 1 sec here. Other direction. I don't know if I was to screen share from my computer, if it would actually log me out of the stream or not. So I'm not even going to try to do that. Okay. So the Gumbo shake, which is the one that you're seeing up there now, again, on their advertised packaging, it says that it's a 20.38 THC, and it says it has a 0.8 terpenes. Okay. And upon testing, this is showing 7.46% THC. Again, I'm probably more going to believe the 7.46. Hey, JKJ, what you doing tonight, bud? So we're talking about people that are putting numbers on their packaging, and then when we do independent testing, how sometimes those numbers are very different. In this current example, we're discussing Gladiator Cannabis, where we purchased some shake ounce products. Well, not myself, but somebody else did. Purchased some shake ounce products to submit for testing. And they're saying that their shake is 22%. And I really doubted it. And sure enough, we take it in for testing, and it's testing at 7% and 10%. So you're in Mexico. Enjoy. I bet you're getting ready to have all kinds of changes with the new Schedule 3 stuff with cannabis, John, in regards to all kinds of stuff, the food dyes and all kinds of things. But enjoy that vacay on Mexico. I'm sure you're going to need it with all the changes coming up, and I'm sure it'll keep us tuned as to what's coming. So Excuse me. Okay, so the one in between, OG Kush, not OJ Kush, my bad, is by a company called After Party. Let's see. That one, I did not see what the original testing numbers were on it. So give me 1 second, and we'll go over here to this one. There it is right there. So this one tested at 9.4 or 9.6% THC. What was that comment John had up there, Hippie? John says it's so frustrating with the labs. We're getting ready to transition to no dye gummies. Well, looking forward to that for sure. What about the cheeses though? Will that stuff be no dye as well? And the peach rings and stuff, all of it's going no dye? Just curious. I don't know what they're coming down on you guys with rules and regulations about, so who knows? All right, so then the last product that we're going to talk about there was one called Sunset Sherbet, but I'm not sure if I had the picture for this one. Oh, that was the black bag picture. There you go. Yep, absolutely. So on that one, you can see the THC says that it's at 10.35. Now, when we tested this one, it tested at 11.26. So this aligns right as it should. Their testing, our testing is right within that percentage of change or variance allowed, right? So to me, that's good. You know, we've got the they're matching it up. They're not putting something else in the bag and testing something else potentially. And I'm not saying anybody's doing that. I'm just saying it's been done in the past at Grace Farms. So, and yeah, there was people in this industry that protected Grace Farms, and you know, even went to bat and defended them. And you know, I'm just going to say that you should have been at the default trial hearing for Grace Farms last time on the December 18th. It was stellar. It was amazing. And yeah, we'll talk about that after the break, like I said earlier. So that covers products that I need to be posting. Okay. And so Anthony says, so the one that was lower was right on. Absolutely. Absolutely, Anthony. The one that was lower was right on. For shake trim ounces, we should be seeing around a 10, 8, 12. I wouldn't expect to see a shake ounce at more than 12%, to be honest. And I don't think any of us that have sat around and discussed it at the round tables would expect anything different either. So let's see, what time is it? We're at 7:14. I just want to make sure I don't cut in too long. Hippie, you didn't tell me who the song was going to be by today. So if you want to throw that up in the comments, that'd be nice. We was talking before the show, and I did not quite get that from him. So the DUI law thing that I want to bring up really quickly is that if you are a processor in the state of Oklahoma, you are doing a disservice to your customer, to your patient, to your consumer if you are not putting your product in a tamper-proof seal. Now, this Kind Love pre-roll is actually about a testing thing, but this works for this subject as well. Okay, so you don't see anything that goes over the top of the lid up there, sealing that unit from being considered an open container. So with Oklahoma's new DUI laws, if you're not putting your stuff in the trunk, the funk, or wherever in the bed of the truck, okay, then you're putting yourself at risk, especially simply with an empty pre-roll tube. We actually do have people that have already been pulled over, arrested, and are going through the criminal justice system currently on DUI infractions for not having anything marijuana, okay, simply having an empty pre-roll tube. Now, for me, I've said this before, an open container with alcohol is a container that contains alcohol that can still be consumed, right? You can still be drinking that. It's within the reach of the driver. That's an open container, okay? An empty pre-roll tube is an empty package, not an open container. So that's one of the things that I think needs to be changed. Yes, JKJ, you are correct. OMMA did redact that process, but it will be back for sure. It's something we are going to be fighting for, because that needs to be in there. That tamper-proof seal, it got put onto everything else, well, not everything else, but most everything else. It needs to be on these pre-roll tubes for sure. So our friends Clan with their hit Letter is going to be our song. Okay. All right. Gotcha. So that's awesome there. So as well as the DUI laws, if you are not making sure that you are putting everything into the trunk and stuff like that, you need to be, don't take a chance. Example, if you have a child in the car with you and you have that empty pre-roll tube in the car, it's an automatic 10 days in jail, no bond. It's an automatic felony DUI. And if that's your child and you're not married to the other parent, there's a good chance you could end up with your kid not being with you for a while. So don't take the chance. Don't take the risk. Stick it to the back. They're trying to get us with reefer madness. I've even spoke with local law enforcement to my hometown. Well, I didn't speak to him personally. Charles did, but I was listening into the conversation a little bit. And he was explaining to them, that pulling someone over and searching their vehicle for the odor of that should not be enough. You know what I mean? What was it? How are you explaining it, Charles, to him?
Oh, well, the person that got pulled over owns a dispensary. So, of course, he smells like weed. Everybody that works in a weed shop smells like weed. And then when they found an open container, they gave the man a DUI. Mm-hmm. And the police's standpoint on it is, well, if we lose in court, we'll change our tactics.
Mm-hmm. If they lose in court, they'll change their tactics. So it's going to take somebody having to go all the way through the court system in order to fight this. And if you're average Joe like me who can't afford the court system, then I'm going to get drugged through it however they see fit to do so. But someone who can afford the attorney in order to do all of that. Hey, Rain, I'm doing my podcast. Can you wait? Thank you. Sorry, guys. Anyway, someone that can afford to have an attorney who can, advance that through the court system and potentially fight it to the point that they're able to get it dismissed or lowered to a lesser charge or something like that is the only way the law enforcement is going to change how they're currently doing it with reefer madness. And yes, you are right, JKJ. That is going to take a lot of money. And so, Hippie, there was another comment JKJ put on there just a second ago. Let's see, the DUI law is just plain ridiculous. I couldn't agree more. They're definitely, I know which one it was. It was about Norman. So they were pulling people over in Norman, Oklahoma. There was a DUI stop place. And it looks like this is something we could be dealing with quite a bit. And especially between now and New Year's. Guys, on New Year's Eve, don't take a chance. It's just like with drinking and driving. Don't take a chance. I know a lot of us are used to stoner cruises and we're used to doing it our way and when we wanted to, how we wanted to. But if we do it that way, if we continue to do it that way, we are going to get caught up and we're going to get taken to jail. And all we're going to have to do is to tell them to fuck off. No, I'm joking. We can't tell them to fuck off. But anyways, so we are going to listen to the Clan and we're going to listen to the Clan song Letter. And then we're going to have a short commercial and advertisement by our sponsor, HashRx. We'll be back.
Bake, I sip my coffee, twisting herb, that's my hobby. Can I kick it? Can I party? Me, my natives, get it started. Touchdown switch, I hit the target. Carving, sewing, painting, drawing. Make this money, split them profits. What I do, I know she wants it. Live my life, they reading comments. Moving silent, stacking comments. Numbers talking, I know they watching. I stay dreaming while I'm conscious. Seal for drip with the otter. Rose gold chain with the copper. Ravens, eagles, cling it hotter. Whales and wolves is wild style.
Got a letter that was sent from me. I get high. It always feels good to be.
smoking choke. This that chronic, wish you could be in this party. All my natives getting started. I stay woke like the prophet, spoken word. Let's see who follows. Clink at Haida, who could've thought though? Like who would've thought though? I'm that native, really rep it. We go big, this ain't Texas. Check the rap, she ask who next is. Grizz and native, stay invested. Fish and moose, we stay ingested. Manifest without a question. Changing life around the nations. Through our music, through our message. I'm that native, sip my coffee. All the haters get up off me. Life is sweet, just like toffee. Can I kick it? Can I party? I'ma do me, that's regardless. See the hats and leather boots. See the trees and spruce roots. Check our names, we chiefs too.
I got a letter that was sent from me. You sent from me, you sent from me. I get high. It always feels good to be. I got a letter that was sent from me. Sent from me, sent from me. I get high. It always feels good to be.
Are you searching for affordable products and great rosin? Well, look no further. Whether you're keeping it simple or going all out, we've got you covered. Sunny's for everyday deals, and Hash RX for that premium fire. Sunny's keeps your stash affordable, giving you value every single day. When you want the best, Hash RX. Oklahoma's premium live rosin. No solvents, no shortcuts. Affordable or premium, the choice is yours. Find us at Oklahoma dispensaries.
Damn that Hash RX. Well, hold on here a second. I gotta show you guys the new one I got here. I'm gonna bring y'all a little closer here. So the strain name, wow, I can't even talk, is Dime Bag Grape Cake. Okay. So you need to be getting this one if you can. It's beautiful. The expansion is not as bad as some of them, I would say. The expansion is real, but it's not as bad as some of them. But we'll see how long it takes me to catch my breath all the way here. And just like when I was on with Nancy last week, holy moly. Yes, I did get caught, Anthony. You're right. You're red-handed. Just like with Nancy last week, man, I ended up so roasted that whenever she was trying to talk, there was people like commenting over on the side that I could see. It wasn't reading it across the banner on the bottom yet, though. And so I'm over here like making silly waving sounds and stuff, hand waves and stuff, because people are like, oh, hi, over here in the comments and stuff. I was so roasted, y'all. Damn that Hash RX. Actually, I think last weekend, wasn't it because of the hash hole? I think it was because of the hash hole. You guys should check those out too. All right, so we are going to get on to our next subjects. So we are going to start this back with products that are being tested currently. So Hippie's got some more pictures. All of these products are in the testing lab currently, submitted for independent testing by Patients for Safe Access and or team members of. So this one is a brand called Hushies, and Hushies is a product that myself and my kids have even consumed and stuff, and just decided that this was one we wanted to check into and just make sure that it was what it was supposed to be. So very good grows, They do a 1/2 gram hash rosin cart here in Oklahoma, and it is what I would consider a budget-friendly cart, which is great. I've had tons of these carts, and so it's just another one of them products that throughout testing processes and ideas and suggestions, this one came up, and so it's in for testing. So this one here is Hash Kings or Hash King, not Hash Kings. And this one we're going to leave up there for a minute because it has a story behind it. And I ran across this company a couple of times over the last year, and I have consumed and dabbed some of their product and did not have an issue the first 2 times in which I had consumed the product. The last time I consumed the product was at the Cowboy Cup over here in Tulsa in December. And right away, as soon as I don't take a baby dab, guys. Like, I'm just going to tell you, I'm like a 1/4 to 1/2 gram hitter and can clear a dab like no other. And like, please challenge me. I love a challenge, So needless to say, when I was given the opportunity to take a big fat dab, I did. And right away, the product to me had kind of a diesely taste and stuff to it. Did not feel the greatest right away afterwards, and had a really harsh time breathing after as well. And so that's why this product went in for testing. But even more so than that, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, there was a recall in the state of Oklahoma for a company called Carter County Extracts. And at the time that I seen that the recall came out, I did not realize, which brands were affiliated to that company. However, after looking into it a little bit further, it would appear that Hash King is produced by that company, by Carter County Extracts. So the recall that happened was for myclobutanol failed products, but that was primarily for their edibles category. So with that being said, there is no guarantee this product is going to fail. I would hope and anticipate that it does not. But if it does, then to me, that would clarify why I had kind of the reaction that I did to it. So that's why that one's in for testing. Like I said, didn't have a problem with it the first 2 times. Just, really didn't set well with me the 3rd time. So that's how I'll put that one. So we can go to the next one. So this is Clementerp Wraps by Hempire. And these were provided at one of the vendor booth tables at Cowboy Cup. And they were just, free hemp wraps for people to roll their blunts with. And anytime we have the opportunity to test free stuff, of course, we're going to test free stuff. We don't have to pay for it. Donations do not come easy. I feel like I have to try to draw blood to get them. So if it's free, I'm testing it. Next. Told you that hash RX would get me, damn it. All right. These here have an interest for me for sure. And they should for a lot of people because a lot of people smoke white owls. Now, we did test white owl white grapes in the past, and they failed miserably. I want to say it had to have been at least 3 different pesticides and heavy metals, at least, that the white owl white grape products failed for. This product is interesting because on the back of these packages, and I don't think I sent him that picture, but on the back of any white owl package, it says for sale only inside the United States, or not for sale outside the United States, okay? These here were actually purchased in Aruba. And so knowing that, they're not supposed to be for sale outside of the U.S., knowing that they're a white owl product, it was something that we just still had from whenever we had been on vacation. So we're submitting those to see, were those really as bad as the others too? I really hope not. That's another Hushy product. So Hushy has like, I don't know, 8 or 10 different flavors of their pre-rolls, and they are made with a naturally derived fruit flavoring to give them their flavor of like grape, strawberry, things like that. And so, again, just testing them. Yeah, they do test really high, so we'll see, huh? I know whenever I used to smoke them in the past, they used to get me stone stupid, and so, all right. So this one right here is actually one of our sponsors' products. And so when they see this, I hope they understand that everyone gets tested. So, and I know they will understand because that's the kind of guys they are. So this product here is Agro Couture, and it's a pink lemonade nano emulsified shot drink. And it's 100 milligrams of THC with 100 milligrams of CBD, being a 1-to-1 product, which is great for pain relief. And nano hits you very fast. A couple of episodes ago, you would have seen me drinking on the root beer float one and the wild berry one. And I think I still have some wild berry in there. But when I first started drinking them, I was like, I'm going to proceed with caution because nano slaps. It slaps hard and it slaps fast. And if you're not ready for it, you're going to be laid down for a minute. So whenever you do decide to venture off into nano, if you've never done it before, if you've never consumed cannabis that way, definitely proceed with caution. So, all right, what else we got there? Okay, so this is also a nano product. This one is by a company called Eden Rose here in Oklahoma. And Eden Rose has actually helped us as well in the past. This product was provided by a patient who had probably 5 or 7 of these that have been, I don't want to say been sitting around for a long time, because not a long time, maybe 3 to 6 months, something like that. And the solution inside of it, I don't know if nano breaks down or not, because I'm not that familiar with it. I know it hits hard and fast, but I don't know what the process is for making nano, or what happens when nano sets. Maybe it needed to be shaken every so often or something like that. Don't know. Anyways, she wanted to have it tested just because it didn't look the way it did whenever it was purchased. And so that's why we're going to be submitting that one and testing it. So this one is Country Cannabis. Country Cannabis is a multi-state brand. And this one is the cinnamon pecan caramel popcorn. I had a friend of mine come up to me at Cowboy Cup, and she said that she consumes one of these bags about every 2 to 3 days. And so she wanted to know, was what she was consuming safe, clean, quality, and what it says it is. So therefore that one's getting tested. And this one is Medicine Man. And so this is a 1/8 of flour, a 3.5 gram bag. And the strain on this one is Jigglers number 17. And this one is testing at 19.87. And I'm going to actually tend to believe the testing on this particular brand, unless I'm, of course, shocked if I receive different test results than what I would expect to on this one. And when we get all of these results, we will go through and we will get them posted. I have to get the ones posted that, we showed you in the beginning still yet. Like I said, those came through on Christmas Eve. And then, of course, everyone was doing family stuff on Christmas. And yeah, I'm still recovering from Christmas, but I'm trying. So as soon as I can, I'll be getting that information posted. And then when the new stuff drops, we'll be getting that stuff posted as well. So the naughty and the nice of the events, I want to bring that forward real quick for a second. And that is that, guys, Cowboy Cup specifically, I'm going to use this as a reference because I was just at this event. Okay. This is my most recent event attended. All right. The event coordinators of this event, they specify in all vendor applications, all stuff on their website, everything, everywhere tells you that you are not supposed to be giving out product from your booths, and that you are supposed to be following the program that they have set forth and forward that allows you to provide product to the patient through a program called Cowboy Cash. And they have a host dispensary that is set up to stage all products at, so that the patient can go in and redeem their Cowboy Cash and get that free product that you're wanting them to have. Okay. With that being said, it never fails that there's always a handful that decide that they want to break the rules. Now, I kind of sat here and thought about this earlier. And I thought about calling out by name, vendors and stuff like that. And to me, there's no reason to, because if you go back and you look at everybody's Facebook Live videos from the event and stuff like that, you're going to see who was doing that and who was not, So what I can say is, vendors, please stop doing that. You put these event coordinators at risk. They have to have like a set insurance. They have to have all of these different like permissions to have certain things there. And if you are going around the rules and regulations, okay, and you decide that you're above, and beyond what they've asked of you to be legal and compliant, and you decide to hand out product, number one, how did you get that product out of Metric to the event? That's not a licensed dispensary. So like, how are you showing your product in actual live person when that's not Metric to that location? So if it's outside of Metric and you're handing it out, was it properly tested? Are you trying to pass it off as THCA when very obviously it was medical marijuana? So guys, stop doing that. We don't need to give them any more reasons to try to take our events from us. They tried legislatively to take our events in the past. And if you don't think they won't try again, wake the hell up, okay? Especially if you have a dispensary within like 5-10 minute drive of an event, say you don't want to put your product at a host dispensary, but you want people to go to your dispensary and go get your product, then create your own coupon and give to them to go to your dispo, to go get it, to go back to the event and hang out, or to go home with, or whatever, okay? But to give out the product from your booth, especially you big corporate guys, please stop doing that, okay? I want to see these events be in the future. I want to see the different competitions and cups and the community that is built out of cannabis. I want to see that continue in the future. And we're not going to be able to keep doing that if y'all keep breaking the rules and just choosing to do whatever you want to because you think you can. So that's what I'm going to leave on that one. Let's see. Next piece is going to be some legislation. So we are working with some different legislators this year, and we are working with different legislators on multiple different things. So we are working towards still trying to find someone involved with veterans language that is currently moving forward in our legislation to see if we can get them to put into their bill a piece adopting that our veterans would get their medical patient cards for $22.50, with the presence of a DD-214 over the need for a 100% disability rating. Currently, it says that they have to have a 100% disability rating to receive that discount. And that rating is a very hard thing to achieve, especially for some. There are some that cannot achieve that rating ever, no matter what. And so even though they served and they've got their, DD-214 showing that they are military, they will never qualify for a discount for an Oklahoma medical marijuana patient card with the current language. So that's something we're looking for. We are trying to move forward with last year's proposed rules section, where they tried to expand the pesticide expansion panel for the state of Oklahoma, and we are pushing forward with that. We are also asking for, of course, research ability and funds for research. We believe that that's necessary, and especially with Schedule 3 changing coming in the future, we should be able to have funds available for cancer research with medical cannabis. We are also asking about packaging approval. There's a lot of packaging out there that is still non-compliant in Oklahoma. And I'm sorry, but I do not want to see, actually, I'm not sorry. I don't want to see the OMMA continue to shut down mom and pop businesses over something that they should be pre-approving in the first place. We have 5 states in the United States that have departments that are responsible for pre-approving packaging for marijuana in that state. What would that solve for us? A lot of things, actually, because you would not have to worry about whether or not your packaging was appealing to a child. You would not have to worry about if your packaging was compliant, whether or not your, universal THC symbol was the right font and size. You would not have to worry about if I put all of the labeling requirements into the labeling. Did I do all of the things that I'm supposed to do to make it a legal and compliant package? No, it would be their responsibility to approve your packaging and say, yes, this is legal and compliant. You can move forward with that. So I might get some resistance on that, but honestly, I don't see why, because if businesses are getting dinged for stuff like that, especially dispensaries are ordering a product, they get the product in, put it on the shelf, and if there's something wrong with that packaging, they get dinged. Who loses there? Patients lose the dispensary potentially. The dispensary loses financially and fines and fees and regulatory actions and everything else. So let's just take that step out. Let's just make that their responsibility. True enough, they can't handle much responsibility, but I do believe that one should be theirs too. Not going to go over too much of the other things because I do want to get into the Graves Farms hearing as well. So give me just 1 second to go through and make sure I'm ready for that. All right. So you guys are probably pretty well aware that Patients for Safe Access started about 2.5 years ago. And it started with Charles and I both being medically harmed due to contaminated medical marijuana products that were by a processor in the state of Oklahoma called Graves Farms Organics. And ever since we were able to start doing the independent testing and we were able to identify and determine that, some of those issues were very much so related, and that this was something that needed to be addressed. Okay. Ever since that started, we have followed through with it. We have followed through with it in every way possible. And what I mean by that is all the way, including going to every single OMMA administrative court proceedings where the state took action against Grace Farms Organics. I think we might have missed one, but if it was one we missed, then Anthony went in our place. And other than that, we have been there and we have sat through every single one of them. What was that?
My,
Okay. Sorry. Anyways, we have sat through every single one of them. And up until 3 hearings ago, the owner of the company and his attorney were still coming and attending the administrative court proceedings. Then I think it was in October 16th, if I remember correctly, was the first time that the owner of the company and his attorney were not present. And that's whenever they announced in court that his attorney had withdrawn from the case and that they could not move forward that day with the pretrial hearing. So they were going to have to push it off a month and give them the opportunity to gain new counsel and come back in. Push it off a month into November. We go to the hearing again. Again, no attorney, no owner. And so at that point, they went ahead and went forward with a default pretrial hearing. And that was just, pretty much saying, hey, we're ready to take the case forward and, we're going to go ahead and do this. So they scheduled it for December the 18th, and they said that this was going to be a default trial hearing. And I did not understand what all these words were in the beginning. Obviously learned them through the process. But the default trial hearing was meant that they were going to have a trial with or without the owner and his attorney there. If you're familiar with the administrative courts, you actually cannot go in and go represent yourself pro se. You do have to have legal representation. And so it would have required him to have an attorney there either way. And so we go December 18th, and again, they're not there. So the attorneys for the OMMA, which was, I believe their counselor's name was Heidi Silcox. She was the presenting counsel for the OMMA, is I guess how I would phrase who she was. And so she had a very well prepared case. She had to have been a 3-inch 3-ring binder that was literally full of exhibits and documents and photographs and things like that. They don't allow you to record in the administrative court proceedings any longer. And so wasn't able to do that. So everything is kind of going off of memory, and I hope I transfer this 100% the right way. So anyways, we go in there, they're presenting their case. Of course, they ask if there's anyone there for the defendant's side for Grace Farms Organics. And of course, no one steps forward, not an attorney or an owner. So they proceed with the default trial. And in that default trial, they presented so much evidence. And it was very, very, very validating in the way of knowing that things weren't being done the right way, because obviously if we were finding failed products on the shelf and you were given a clean COA, something wasn't being done the right way. And so in hearing all of the information, I took some notes, so I'm going to be looking down a little bit here. So this was on his processor license only. And the main thing that started their whole administrative proceedings apparently was an inspection that happened in July, on July 29th of 2024. And so out of that inspection, they were able to be prompted to do a lot of internal digging. I guess I would call it anal probing into the company, into their metric transactions, into their SOPs, into pretty much everything that they do on a daily basis. and included, asking employees there. And, these inspectors were a body cam. So there was even some video evidence that was presented there at the case where they were asking employees on the farm about their SOPs and asking about how they do their testing processes. And so during that person's response, they responded with saying that they would go in and they would create a single pre-roll. They would submit that pre-roll for that testing. When they received the clean COA on that pre-roll, then they would go ahead from there and build and make the batch. 100% against rules and regulations to do it that way. That is not representative of the entire batch in regards to testing. In fact, you can't even begin to say that the product that was tested is the same product that's going into the batch at that point. And without further testing of the batch, you're not being representative of the batch. So that's all against the rules and regulations. And when the inspector asked the employee, well, how long have you been doing it this way? Oh, well, we've always done it this way. So you're seeing that literally the entire time this company was open, that according to this employee's testimony during this inspection, well, not testimony, but response during an inspection, is that they never did anything the right way, okay, in regards to how they handled their collection of samples and proper testing methods, proper tested requirements from the rules and regulations. So that just, again, was one of the things. One of the other things was that there was so many metric positive transactions done in that company. And what I mean by that is example that they would have a metric batch to it, right, to a product, and say it would only have one quantity in it, okay? But then once they got the testing back, then they would increase that quantity to 500, okay? So that's a metric positive transaction. Batches don't increase out of nowhere. And so that was a big thing. They only metric mined that company for about 3 months, okay? So from what I remember from the court stuff,
4 months.
Was it 4 months? And yeah, so around there. It wasn't very long, actually. You know what I'm saying? And this company did a voluntary recall in June of 2023. And then they had a element issued recall in like June of 24. And then had this inspection July 29th of 24 that prompted this administrative action that is what we're talking about here. And that's the timeline that I kind of put together on it, right? So here they're creating the sample, testing it, making the batch without further testing, mismatched tags with products. And so their example, they would have bins and a product with a metric tag on it. And the metric tag, when you scanned it, would say that it's supposed to have 500, we'll just say Skywalker OG. That's not even a strain of theirs. But anyways, Skywalker OG pre-roll. And instead of having that, it has 100 of something else in it. And so mismatched tags with totes and things of that nature.
Photocopy tag.
Yeah, there was photocopied metric tags. They were talking about black and white metric tags. Metric tags aren't black and white. So why are you using a photocopied metric tag? Okay. And if it's not a photocopied metric tag, really? How can it not be? Has to be. Somebody tell me different, please. There were multiple investigators that testified. I've done an open records request. I just submitted it today because I'm asking them to provide me with a copy of all exhibits that were presented that day, in addition to a couple other things that were discussed and presented that day. And so I'm hoping that it won't take them a year to get that to me, because some of their stuff does. But when I get that, it's going to be telling of a lot of things. There were multiple investigators, like I said, that investigated this company and did the inspections and stuff like that. Let's see here. Metric, for people that don't know metric, and I don't know metric. Let me tell you that I am not a metric expert. I don't know it. I've never done a damn thing in metric. Okay. But metric is a self-reported data system. Okay. Meaning that companies, an employee or owner of the company, is responsible for self-reporting all data input into metric. And that's also something that's important, because when you look at doing like the metric positive transactions, that's not something that can just, like happen. It's not something that happens automatically, or it's a fluke or anything like that. Those are human entered data numbers into metric. So there was, how is it you say, Charlie, it takes more than one person to what?
There's a lot of parts in a watch.
A lot of moving parts in a watch. So even though the owner himself was definitely responsible for a lot of this and needs to be held accountable in more ways than one for this, there were a lot of moving parts. And so I guess I would say there, and I would challenge people to be better. Because if you're working in a company that is doing things incorrectly and is potentially putting a patient's life at risk, or putting their health and safety at risk, is that paycheck really worth that? Is it really worth that much? Is it worth your integrity? Is it worth your everything? Because yeah, it shouldn't be. Don't be afraid to stand up and say something when someone's doing something wrong that could harm someone. Don't just sit back and do it because that's the normal everyday, what you've been doing for years, because that makes you no better than the person doing it in the first place, in my opinion. So they found inversion. They also found inversion. They also found that they were doing not reporting and not reconciling correctly. And so with all of those things in mind, okay, and that's a lot of stuff. And that wasn't even, that was a slimmed down version of my notes, okay? I think that hearing went on for an hour and a half to 2 hours, okay? And guys, I go down there, go sit in for some of these hearings, some of it feels like it's a joke. Other parts of it, you realize they took some of this shit seriously. But there's this whole process through the administrative hearing, the fines and fees on this. At the end of the hearing, they assessed this man and this company with $133 million in fines and fees. So for him to go and stand on Channel 4 News and say that Alma was picking on him, and that patients always come first in his company, and all of those things like that. But then to be found to have done so much wrong, to literally receive $133 million in fines assessed, fines and fees. Okay? You weren't a saint. You weren't innocent. You very much so knew what you were doing. You put some of your employees in charge of learning how to negate the rules and regulations of metric, okay? You knew you were putting people's lives at risk, and you should be held criminally responsible, and that's my opinion. So I do believe that needs to change in the state of Oklahoma. I do believe that if you are found to have harmed others unbeknownst to them through their medicine, look it up, it's called willful poisoning, that it should be a criminal charge. And I don't believe that, all of his friends in the state of Oklahoma should have been necessarily so prone to protect someone who did so much so wrong. So I guess that's about all I really have tonight. It's kind of a serious little episode and a fun episode in the same stroke. But guys, I'm not going to be doing this forever. My opinion's my opinion. It's the weight of somebody else's. Everybody has one. They're like assholes. And you can like my opinion, or you can not like my opinion. Where you can like how I feel about something and not like how I feel about something. But when it comes to harming patients of our state through medical marijuana, I do believe you should be held criminally responsible. So going forward in the future, BS can't change anything in the past. Maybe that should be the new standard. Patients for Safe Access. We believe in access to safe, quality medical cannabis in final form at all times, and we hope that you do too. So, peace, love, and hippie sauce. Talk to y'all later.
Summer Parker leading the way, shining bright like the healing rays. 420 patients, we stand as one. Safe access for everyone. Oh, we rise up, lifted higher.